Hey everybody on YouTube, this is Hello Bella. This video is going to be about me deciding whether or not I'm going to start an antique booth. So I'll just tell you the story of this past week. I was trolling through my favorite antique store, and it is a two-story antique building with a bunch of booths, and that rents out space to vendors. Pretty traditional in the sense of an antique mall. Each booth is a little different, but I mean, the same variety of items seems to be carried throughout the store. But I got to chatting with a lady upstairs who runs a booth, just kind of picking her brain, which is sort of in the nature of anytime I see somebody running their business, I start asking questions because there's always something to learn. And she told me that she has pretty good luck with it. She was a retired school teacher, and that now she does this. And she had a really nice booth, really well organized, and kind of gave me some pointers. And so it got me thinking. So I walked downstairs and started speaking with the owner, who is a great person, and we just had a great discussion about business. And seemed to really hit it off. And I kind of told him my business background and that I've been doing e-commerce for for 10 years now. I'm going to be 23 coming in a couple days, so I've been doing it for 10 years, and we kind of discussed whether or not I would do well there and what kind of items do well there. He said furniture moves exceptionally well there. He said glassware did not move hardly at all, and that each vendor kind of has their own style, so it's sort of up to you to kind of create what I guess your booth's brand is going to represent. And it just kind of got the wheels turning for whether or not I could start something new. I'm always looking for a new venture, so the cost of this antique booth is $85 per month for your rent, and then 10% commission on all items sold. So you would need to, sell pretty good amount of inventory off each month in order to just break even and make a profit. But I was thinking if I could just turn this into maybe a revenue stream that created about $500 profit a month for me, that'd be really, really good. Because I'm currently pulling in, merch is really, really good right now. I don't know if it's going to keep being good, but I'm doing about 1,000 or more on merch, and then I'm doing about 1,000 on FBA profit and then I'm doing about 1,000 on Airbnb. My target monthly income is around 3,000, but that's after taxes. So, I mean, of course, I need to make really more like 4,000 to kind of pay everything and kind of have a nomadic lifestyle that I would like to have. I mean, I can pay all my bills now, but of course, who doesn't want to have more money? But this would kind of just help me get something new set up. Working at Yellowstone, I really did enjoy the aspect of setting up the store. I've always liked staging things. I've liked taking pictures of things, and just the fact of getting to use my creative side would be a really nice change. And I did tell him that I can't start doing this until the first of the year. So it is almost October, so I'm leaving in November. I'm going to be gone November, December, and January. I'm going to be in Italy. But I thought when I came back, maybe I'd have some inventory from Italy, and then February, maybe get started around March. And that way I could avoid the January slump and, kind of get started for the year in March. And this is just an idea. This doesn't necessarily mean that a booth will be open when I get ready to start, but he has gave me the green light and told me that he would be happy to have me there. And I think that I could bring a lot of value to the business in general. I've definitely got some ideas for how we can get more customers in the door and how we can, do some marketing to the younger crowd. Definitely college students who I know they like junk. I know hipsters want to buy junk, but they don't necessarily know about that store because they're not really from the area and they just haven't gone exploring yet. So I think that would be something that we'd want to explore. And they do have an online presence. They have a Facebook page. So that was one thing I was looking into whenever I was wanting to find an antique booth. I want to see how they do their marketing and if they have, if they have events for customers. This particular business actually has sort of these social events where they have food and drinks and the customers can come in and eat and shop around. So I think that's really, really great because it just gets people in the door. So I was thinking about what kind of items that I was going to carry. There's a lot of merchandise that I come in contact with on the daily that I don't buy because it wouldn't be smart to sell it online because it wouldn't be worth the money after shipping. But then there's so much stuff that like I can get it for $2 and sell it for $8. Like, I mean, it's not a get rich quick scheme or anything, but it'd be a nice way to have a couple extra $100 a month And I'll just tell you that my end goal with this is eventually to have somebody else be running it for me and stopping in a couple times a month and making sure that the booth looks good and that it's up to par with my standards. And this goes back to the 4-hour work week that I was reading, kind of having that automation as the end goal. I'm starting to think about the future a lot and, kind of realize that I don't want to work forever. I don't want to be reselling forever. I don't imagine my life being getting up and going to the thrift store and selling stuff online for the rest of my life. Like, that is just not fulfilling to me. I mean, I love doing it and it gives me freedom right now, but eventually I would like to move on to something more passive. And it's all of these income streams that I've set up, they weren't passive initially, but the more you learn, the more passive it can become. Because, I mean, with merch right now, like, I spent so much time in the beginning just learning to design, but now that I know how to design and I know how to outsource, I can kind of weigh the pros and cons of, okay, do I feel like working today? If not, okay, let's call up our virtual assistant and see what we can put him on, and then I'll work on something else. And I've also got my employee working a couple hours a week now, so that's really, really nice to have some of that stress off of me. I've got the house rented tonight and tomorrow night, so that's a little extra chunk of change coming in. And I mean, I really think that this booth is something that would let me explore a little bit different side of the business. Brick and mortar is something that I've never really been interested in, but with the antique booth, it sort of runs itself because, I mean, think about it. It's sort of like eBay. You set it all up, you list it essentially, you put it all in the store for sale, you put the price on it, and then you leave it alone. So the reason that I'm paying that $85 rent per month and 10% commission is because that covers the building, the cost of electricity, the person who's sitting at the counter working everything out, and at the end of the month you get a check from them with everything that you've sold minus your rent and your 10% commission. So I think it's a great opportunity and something that I'm definitely going to pursue. So what I've been thinking is I've got some inventory now that can go there, but I really want to find some certain niches for my booth. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing is actually selling my succulents. So succulents are huge right now. Like a lot of the shirts that I sell on merch are succulent related. But the succulents that I make are all in these antique containers because I get containers from the thrift store and I like make arrangements out of them. So I thought that that'd be something really cool to offer. And I'm gonna have to test the market. I mean, I'm not bringing all my plants to the store, obviously, but I thought I'd start with a few. And that'd just be something kind of different that my booth would have that other booths would not. And also, when I go to Italy, I'm gonna be doing some sourcing there. Just kind of coming up with some interesting things. My mom told me that she found several thrift stores there, and they sort of have different, things. And I was talking with another lady who owns an antique store downtown, and she said that just sourcing from a different location can be huge because you can find stuff that we don't necessarily have here in Alabama. Like she mentioned that she found boat oars in Michigan, and that everyone here wanted to buy them because we don't have a lake, we have a river, so there's no boat oars anywhere nearby. So just kind of getting that variety in the merchandise would be really cool. The only downside I can see to it initially would be the startup cost of inventory. But honestly, like that's the business that I'm in, so it doesn't really bother me, and I don't mind putting in a couple $100s in the beginning. Um, to me, it's not that big of an investment. I also, whenever I go into a new venture, I think, what is the worst possible outcome? And then what is the best? And so you want to weigh those two pros and cons. And so I figured the worst thing that can happen is that I lose a couple $100s and have to sell off of my inventory and realize that I don't need to run an antique booth. That's the worst thing that could happen. Um, and the best thing that could happen would be that I, start generating a side revenue or side income from this, and it turns into something that makes me a couple hundred or even over $1,000 a month. He said that their best performing vendors did around $2,000 a month. So I'm not trying to be braggadocious, but I definitely think that I could make a better booth than almost anyone there. Not to say anything that's bad about those booths, but they don't have the young people in mind for their market, and I think that I could bring that to the table for them. and I could also do a lot of marketing for them. That, just these little things that you can do for free on Facebook for promotion and, kind of putting the word of mouth out. Word of mouth is huge in our area because we live in such a small town. So I think that that could be really valuable to them. So I guess the next steps that I'm really working on are doing more research about how I'm going to start setting it up. I have to find some displays, shelves and cases and things of that nature, and kind of deciding what I want my vibe to be for my booth, and kind of what kind of merchandise I want to carry and how I want to run things, and also my pricing structure, because I don't know if I want things to move quickly or if I want to sit on things for a little while. I mean, obviously I want to sell things, but I don't know if I really want price to be my main, competition thing that I'm working with. It's never a good idea if you're only competing on price. I think I'm really going to focus on building a sort of brand and a vibe that my booth has, and just kind of go from there. So yeah, this is my little self-exploration, sort of talking to myself and thinking out loud. I've been thinking about this for several days ever since I spoke with the owner, and just the fact that they're so open and they're so willing to help. And he said if you just come in and you work your booth, and you bring in new inventory and you move things around, you'll do well. He said if you just use it like a storage facility and you just bring everything here and dump it off, then you're not going to sell anything. So I really think that that's, there's a lot of merit to that, and to keeping a rolling flow of inventory, which also means I have to keep sourcing. So whether or not it's worth my time, we'll find out later. But I really like to do things like this. At least I want to pursue something new every year just to see if I can do it. And so for 2017, that really was graphic design and merch by Amazon. So I think for 2018, it's going to be starting an antique booth. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If any of you guys have an antique booth or know somebody who has a booth and wants to come on the show, I would love to chat with you guys. I'm really interested in this because there's not a lot of young people who have antique booths. So, and you don't have to be young, but just, I want to have some kind of dialogue with another YouTuber about this. So, leave a comment below if you know anybody who you could set me up with. Thanks so much for watching, guys.